Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so excited about having this lady. I texted her this morning. We're so excited, proud to have her here to start the year off, our first Monday officially in the 2025. She hails from Northern California. She's a community up there. She takes up her dear dad. She has a daughter in Santa Barbara, California, going to college. They have several businesses together. Let me tell you something. And she still has time to go build ACN and did a fantastic job when she saw it and took off like a rocket ship, like a bat out of you know well. You know, I'm telling you what. I'm gonna tell you something. Everybody, move a little closer. Let me move a little closer. There are Miss Keri Roeders in your community looking for you. That's right, Sherry Hunt. That's right, Sam Foster. That's right, Captain Wynn. But if you don't get out there and talk to Miss Pastor John, you'll never get him. Without further ado, Regional Vice President, the wonderful lady. She's a little piece of leather, but she's well put together. Miss Keri Roeder!
Good morning. I love that description. You're just the best. Good morning. Happy first Monday in 2025. Hi, Sherry. This is such an exciting time. Sad the statistics that Mr. Thomas just went over, but it's an exciting time because it actually is parallel to the time in which I started ACN, which was I was invited to take a look at it in April 2010. And I was invited to see it in April 2010. I saw it in May of 2010. So another time I'll train you on my invitation to see it and how horribly it was messed up and why it took me 3 weeks to see it and get started. So another time, today's training is on something else, but the window of time in which I saw ACN in 2010, you know, we were all coming out of 2007, 8, and 9, right? So a lot of similar statistics to what Mr. Al Thomas just went over. And in that year of getting started, on my run to create success in ACN is actually when I met Mr. Al Thomas. So congratulations and welcome to all of you who are new, who have gotten started since I had the privilege of doing some training, which was in November last year. I'm really, really excited. And so I want you to know this. The gentleman that just opened up this call and that you see every single day, he is actually one of the most influential leaders we have, not just in ACN, but actually in our industry globally. I know other people tell you his accolades, but I really want you to hear them from me because I think sometimes instead of taking advantage, we take him for granted instead of taking advantage of him. And so the idea that he has 3 billionaire with a B mentors, and he's helped, I don't even know how many people find tremendous success financially and otherwise. Mr. Al Thomas is somebody we definitely, every time he speaks, listen, write it down, memorize it if you can, repeat his words, defer to him as one of your mentors, because ultimately he is a gentleman alongside all of these other people that can help us find the success that it is we're looking for. And I attribute a lot of my success, not just in the start of my success, but in the nearly 15 years of doing this, to have him as a resource is tremendous. So please, my saying for Mr. Thomas is always, don't take him for granted, take advantage of him, right? Use him as your best tool. Even if you're not working directly with him, you're working with leaders who are working with him, and we're just quoting him. So, so good morning, Happy New Year. I'm so excited to be able to be a part of January. And I was telling Mr. Thomas yesterday when we were texting, I've actually been preparing for this conversation for a while now and super excited. So the month of January, it's going to be, every Monday is going to be our entire conversation. So I have something laid out for us that I hope will be helpful for you. And as I always say, I can see me too. And so as I'm talking with you, I'm also talking to me. I can see myself. And so everything that that we're going to go over this month is also applies to me. Okay. So one of the things, so I recently moved. And in my moving, I was able to find some things, and I want to share them with you. And the reason why I'm going to share them with you is because as we start this new year and we set ourselves some goals, when we can have physical reminders of what it is we want, what it is we've already accomplished, of helping other people, that can often help to drive us, right? Because our thoughts control our feelings and our feelings control everything else. So when we can visually see things, that is actually what helps us. So for those of you who are fairly new, you're not going to know what this means, but for those of you who've been around for a minute, I was going through all my jewelry and I found this. Here, hold on. Let me do this. I'm going to spotlight myself. Not because I want to be, but there we go. Okay, can you see that? It's my team coordinator pin. So back in the day when I got started, the position to go for quickly, which is today regional director, back then it was called team coordinator, TC. And this pin is such a big deal that when you accomplish this, they give it to you at the convention, but they also mail you one too. And when it came in the mail that day, I was like, wow, so cool. Now, why this is the big deal and why I'm so excited that I found it is because this is a reminder for me that when I help people get to the regional director position, team quarterback then, right? I know for me, that was a pivotal moment in my ACN journey. The build up to get this pin is what created the momentum to hit regional vice president. So let me give you a little bit of the story. So I got started May 2010. And when I went to trainings and I understood team coordinator, today's regional director, was the pivotal position where the bonus is really like became substantial by helping other people. And that obviously builds your residual income. But I worked so hard to get this pin, like every night, every day, working very, very hard to get this pin. And how I worked hard was I recruited myself. I shared the business opportunity as many times as I could. I did PBRs for our team. And the momentum to get to this, I hit this in 8.5 months of actually getting started, but it actually only took me 7 months because my first month and a half, I just, whatever. So once I made the decision to get to this position, I took those 7 months and I consistently worked sharing the opportunity, getting people started, getting customers sign up. And when I hit this position in January 30th, yes, January 30th, I hit this position, 29th. Anyway, back then you had to have a minimum of 5 people started and qualified in order to get a bonus. It was $500. When I hit this position, I had 2 days in January. I had, in those 2 days as a team coordinator, I got bonuses, okay? What ended up happening is February through December, because of the excitement, right? My entire team, they're like, yes, right? I was wearing this pin, I was flaunting it. I was standing in front of PBRs going, let me help you get this, right? And so because of that excitement, because of that momentum, a calendar year later, January 2012, we hit the next position up, okay? But in those 11 months as a team coordinator in 2011, turns out, wasn't me, it was the team. Turns out this position had so much momentum. We were in the top 50 of the company worldwide. And there were thousands, tens of thousands of other people already in this position when I hit it. But yet in those 11 months, because of the momentum to build into it, we were in the top 50. We got to go on a retreat. It was absolutely amazing. I have awards that show that and everything. So I am now keeping this on my desk to remind me of the work it takes. But when you do the work and you build that momentum, when you hit this position, now it's called regional director. I should have got my regional director pin for you guys. But when you hit regional director and you do the momentum to lead up to hitting the regional director, imagine what you're going to be able to do. You're going to help other people be top producers in the company hitting these positions. So that's one of my new things sitting on my desk. The other thing is, unfortunately, and I don't have the other half, when you hit regional vice president, the co-founders give you a really amazing award, right? And so the one that I had in the moving, I accidentally knocked it over. And so it broke apart. And that's fine because the world actually is what fell off of the bottom of the base, right? So now I have the world at my fingertips. No, but I have the world sitting on my desk to remind me that regional vice president is accomplishable. So I'm telling you right now, regional vice president is accomplishable for you as well. So even if you don't have it, you haven't reached it, do something to visually show yourself that you can have it done. Years ago, Senior Vice President, Mrs. Martha Hunn, we brought her into Sacramento to do a regional training. And she was wearing her SVP pin or ring, right? So I said, "Oh, Mrs. Hunn, can I borrow that for a second?" Right? So I put it on and I took a picture, right? And so I actually have that on my phone. My hand wearing the Senior Vice President pin, because that's the next step. And so that I haven't reached it, but I have a visual to help me go through that. I also too, when we're at conventions, I took a picture of when there's a senior vice president promotion, I took a picture of the screen, right? And I photoshopped my name, senior vice president, and then underneath it is Keri Roeder. And I printed it, and I actually have it on my mirror. So I've already been promoted senior vice president, you guys. So I just have to do the work to get there, which I am. So the other cool thing I want to show you is this. Look at this. How cool that is, right? When we hit regional vice president, Mr. Weber at a big, huge training event that he does, he presented us with this. Like, it was super cool, super heavy, but you know, with the eagle for ACN and all that. So anyway, I'm not showing you this, all of you, to brag. I'm showing all of this to you. I can't speak this morning because to help you understand that when we can visually see things, we can, it trains our brain, right? So I don't know if you've ever done a vision board, but that is really becoming very popular. So if you haven't done a vision board, I suggest you do one. If you don't know how to do one, no worries, just whatever you want to do, right? You can Google it, you can YouTube it. You probably have received an invitation to attend something, to do a vision board. Some are free, some are not. I'm actually doing one this Wednesday at 3 o'clock with some girlfriends of mine. So the reason for the vision board is exactly why I have these things on my desk, because it's a constant reminder of what the goals are. And in order to receive opulence, right? Remember that word, opulence, we have to believe it. We have to really open our arms and tell God or the universe or whatever you pray to, you know, that you demand and that you have opulence. And the visual reminders of that are going to be helpful, in my opinion. Okay, so today we're going to start those, looking at the time, we're going to start our conversation for the month of January. So goal setting for 2025, right? Okay, now there's different acronyms and all that in setting goals. There's different ways to do it. I chose to talk with us this month about doing SMART goals, okay? So SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound, okay? So we're gonna talk about each one of these as we go along. Yes, you know, as quickly as you can, do your vision board, set your goals and everything. And as we talk this month, you can always, you know, revise how it is you're doing things. So, all right, put that person in. Okay, so let's start off with the first one, which is specific. Okay, what is your specific goal? Okay, and you notice I bolded, capitalized, and underlined the word specific. Okay, specific. We want to be, or are you being generic and wandering, or are you being clear, and specific. Now, let's talk about the difference between generic and wandering and clear and specific. Okay, so my daughter lives in Santa Barbara, as you know, right? Well, you don't know, but he said that earlier. So my daughter lives in Santa Barbara. There's multiple ways to get to Santa Barbara, okay? There's from where I live. I live on 80, okay? I can go 80 to 680 to 101. That's usually what I do. I can go 80 to 5. Yeah, there's just different ways. Now, when I want to drive to go see my daughter, generic and wandering would be getting in my car and starting it and just driving. I mean, not being like, do I go right? Do I go left? I don't know, right? When we're clear and specific, we know exactly point A to point B. So for example, how many of you have ever flown on a plane? Silly question, right? Now, would you agree when you book your flight, you know where you're leaving and where you're going to, right? Yep, absolutely, Terry. So when you get on that plane, right, and the captain says, you know, welcome, fasten your seatbelt, blah, 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 all that, right? Do you think that the captain, no, whatever, dude, the pilot flying the plane, told you, can't talk this morning, the pilot who's in charge, right? Do you think he puts the coordinates in of where the plane is landing? Or do you think he just fires up that billion-dollar piece of machinery, right, with hundreds of people in the back going, where do we want to go today, folks? Like, let's just get in the air and decide. No, right? Clear and specific. And so when we are setting our goals, clear and specific. Are you going for regional vice president? Are you going for senior vice president? Are you going for regional director by the end of the first quarter? Yes, you can get it done in 3 months, people. I did it in 7 months. And I'm gonna tell you right now, back then, I really need you to hear me. Back then, to get to this position, team coordinator, which is very similar to regional director, we had to walk in the snow with no shoes both ways. Meaning it was so hard, not hard, it was harder. The structure was very specific. Today, you can hit regional director much easier than the position back then. And that's why I say, yes, you can get regional director done in 3 months in this first quarter. And then again, imagine that momentum that you build to get to that position. What's going to end up happening is when you hit that position, that's what's going to skyrocket you to the regional vice president position. Okay, measurable. Now, this is what I was so excited. I was looking and looking and looking, and Mr. Thomas is going to be really happy with me on this one. Okay, measurable. Now, we want to be able to quantify and track. So you set very specific goals. Now you want to be able to quantify and track them. Okay. We need to be able to objectively assess our progress. Objectively. Okay. So, you know, they say people, when like I was helping my mom buy a new car like a weekend ago, and we literally, like, we got online, we looked, I called the dealership. She wants to test drive this car. We pull in. I saw the same car in a cuter color, more bells and whistles. We bought the other car. We bought based on emotion, not on logic, right? I mean, it was a better car. But when we think emotionally, not logically, okay? So when we're measuring our goals, we need to be able to be objective, not emotional about our progress, okay? So DMO, daily method of operation. And I was kicking myself. The reason why I went off camera a couple of times was I have my DMO somewhere and it's not on my desk. And so I was like going to try to find it. Next week, I'll show you the DMO. It's just it's a sheet, right? And you mark what you did, right? And you do it by the week. But that helps you objectively and measurably look at, am I doing ACN or am I thinking about doing ACN, right? Am I doing ACN or am I thinking about doing ACN? Because so many times in these 14 almost 15 years, basically, I've heard, oh my God, ACN takes up so much time. Blah, 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 it's all I do is ACN. Really? Okay, well, who'd you present to this week? Oh, well, no one. Oh, okay. Well, if you weren't presenting, which is what we do, well, how many people did you call and recruit? Oh, well, no one. Okay, so I'm sorry. If your ACN is taking up so much time, but you're not doing the thing. Sorry, Mr. Thomas, sometimes I'm brutal, I know. But if it's taking up so much time, but you're not recruiting, you're not showing the business or getting your customer, that was the other one, right? What are you doing? Oh, I'm going to training. Okay. So at some point, the doctor, she gets her BA, her master's, her doctorate, goes through all the training. Well, so at some point, the doctor actually has to do doctoring things in order to have the money for the doctoring things, right? So we can go to training all day long in ACN, but if you're not doing the work it takes to get the momentum, to get the pin, you're not actually doing ACN. You're thinking about doing ACN. That's just so doing ACN and thinking about doing ACN are two different things. And when you can do a daily method of operation, you can hold yourself accountable and be objective. Okay. Now, the emotion part. Please don't beat yourself up. This is your journey. This is your journey. Some of you heard me tell you the story about the RVP trip, and Mr. Tony Kupitz caught me shopping while my now ex-husband was having breakfast with Mr. Provenzano. Anyway, during that conversation, he kind of lectured me because I was comparing, right? I was like, oh my God, it took 3.5 years to hit RVP. Other people, like Mrs. Driscoll, did it in 2.5, or, so whatever I was comparing. And he pretty much lovingly gave me an incredible lecture not to do that. And so I've taken that experience and I've shared that with people who will listen, because this is your journey. Don't look right, don't look left. Okay, this is your journey. You get to choose the pace in which you build this. You get to choose the speed in which you get to the position. Mr. Provenzano years ago during a training said, you show the business 1,000 times, you'll hit regional vice president. Okay, well, so if you show the business 1,000 times, do you want to do that in 1 calendar year, which people have done that? Okay. Do you want to do it in 10 years? Like, what time frame do you want to do it in? And this is where measurable comes in. And this is where objectivity comes in, because you're either doing ACN or you're thinking about doing ACN. Okay. This is what you're going to love, Mr. Thomas. The future is yours. Okay. You know what it is? Da, 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 da. It's a calendar, people. It's a paper calendar. Hey, by the way, there's still paper in the world. Right? Yeah, see? I knew it. He's going to grab his. Here we go. Da, 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 da. Listen, right? We all want to be Mr. Thomas. So if you want to be Mr. Thomas, do what Mr. Thomas did, right? The paper calendar. I just love that it said the future is yours. Like, that's super cool. So the one that I actually chose has, I can do a month, and then I can do weekly stuff. And so you can use your calendar one of two ways, or you can get 2 calendars, okay? And this is what I'm doing, is I have my one calendar that is my working, oh, I gotta click my button here, this is his calendar. Obviously, I track my life on my phone, on my Google Calendar, okay? It tells me what to do next. But in the way of building ACN, you can have 2 calendars. You can have one calendar that shows you all your PBRs, all your Zoom presentations, your customer appointments, right? Your launching appointments and all that. And that's going to be sloppy, messy, because people cancel, right? Add some in. So that's going to be like a working calendar. Another thing you can do is get a second calendar, and that calendar can show you what you actually did per day. So on a Wednesday, right? 6 p.m. PBR for Sarah, 8 p.m. PBZ for John, right? The next day. And then that way it's clean. And then as you go to quantify and measure your progress, you can see your sloppy, your working calendar, and then you can go back and you can look at your clip calendar to see what actually happened. Because again, what ends up happening is people, instead of doing ACN, they think about doing ACN. And so when you can actually, and by that I mean your team, okay? Sorry, that's part of the emotional roller coaster. You're gonna get people going, you're so lucky you found me. I am that Mrs. Roeder, right? And then it turns out they're not, because they don't do the work, okay? And you get all excited, right? You launch them and they're like, oh, I want 7 PBRs and I'm gonna fill them each with 50 people. And so you're like, yeah, and you get your paper calendar and you're like, boom, 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 all 7, right? And then guess what? That new person has their first one and there's no guests. And so now they're not going to do the other 6 or whatever, right? It's just a part of the emotional roller coaster. It's a part of the journey. But that is what is necessary in order for you to work hard to get the pin. My dog's now excited and animated. He gets animated when I get excited. So the idea is that we do the work to create the momentum, to have the promotion and help other people have the promotion and progress through the compensation plan to move from the left to the right. Can you do it? Absolutely. I don't care if you got started today or if you got started before I did, right? Doesn't matter. Today's a new day. You all heard me. You're right. Mr. Provenzano gives me that special start over new date dust, right? Today is January 6th, 2025. You can decide today to make clear and specific goals, create a measurable, quantifiable system you can track, and help other people show the business all, do the things it takes, right? Do ACN. Don't think about doing ACN, and you can have progress. So next Monday, I'll continue my conversation about SMART goals. But honestly, do a vision board, find objects, find things that will inspire you and motivate you during the challenging times and help you go from thinking about doing ACN to actually doing ACN. So I'm going to turn this back over to you, Mr. Thomas. There are really no words, because when I think about the support, the love, the encouragement, the success that you have had and that you're teaching all of us to do, it's just tremendous. And so the level of respect that I have for you is and you all know me, I'm pretty articulate. I really do fumble when I try to describe just how much respect I have for our leader, our Senior Vice President, Mr. Al Thomas. So I'm going to turn the call back to you, sir.